Hello there, and thanks for joining me. I'm Rutten, and in this episode of my digital artist vlog, I'll talk about the importance of sorting your files. So first, let's talk about what happens if you don't organize your files. First of all, it takes a lot longer to find your files if you don't know where to look for them and they're all scattered here and there and everywhere. And what happens is you end up wasting a lot of time looking for something that should be very, very easy to find. Without being properly organized, it's also easy to lose track of files and forget that you even created something. You might end up creating something twice, or you may have started a project, forgot about it, and it never gets finished. And without proper organization, it's easy to accidentally delete files if you didn't know they were there in the first place, or you weren't aware that they were in a particular folder or on a particular drive. Now, unfortunately, organization is one of those things that is much easier to do if you start doing it from the beginning. However, a lot of you probably already have hundreds, maybe thousands of artwork files and design project folders and things like that. And so it is going to take you some time to chip away at that. But don't worry, just work on it piece by piece, a little bit at a time, and eventually you'll get there. And you'll be much less frustrated and much less intimidated next time you go to make a digital painting. So as you're organizing, here's a few tips that'll help you along the way. First, you'll want to pay very careful attention to the files that you're sorting and arranging. You want to make sure that you don't accidentally overwrite anything important or delete anything important. So when in doubt, make a copy of that folder that you're going to sort. That way you'll have the original and then you'll have the copy. Once you get everything sorted out, you can just delete one of the duplicates. As you're sorting your files, you'll want to give them a structure or a hierarchy. A hierarchy could be considered like a tree. The tree trunk is your root folder. That would be your main art folder. And then you could have a branch for art projects, and then a branch that comes off of that for 2017 and 2016, 2015. Then within those folders, you could have the individual months or the individual projects and so on. But no matter how you organize it, it needs to have a structure. And that structure can be created by picking broad, general categories and then filling them with more specific folders and files and artwork and so on. You may want to group similar files and folders together if that makes it easier. Let's say you have artwork in a whole bunch of different places, but maybe it was all created in the same year. Take all that artwork from each of those folders and put it all together in the same folder or the same group of folders sorted by year. And don't be afraid to move files between folders because they may not be in the most logical place to begin with. Make sure you're putting them somewhere where they make sense and put them together with other files that are very similar to those files. In regards to saving new files, if you don't know where to put the file, just save it to your desktop. The desktop is generally the safest place to save a file to if you're worried about losing it. However, it's not the safest place to leave a file because then that file is going to be on your main operating system drive. If something happens and you have to reformat your computer, you could lose all that information that was on your desktop. So after it's been on your desktop for a while, make sure that it finds a home. As you're sorting your files, use this opportunity to clean house. Get rid of duplicate files, get rid of junk, get rid of anything that you don't want that's taking up space and is not important. If you're not sure if you need to keep it or not, just keep a copy of it in a folder somewhere. My next tip is don't keep all your eggs in one basket. I know you've heard that before, but consider splitting up your files between multiple drives. On my computer, I have a whole hard drive dedicated just to my videos that I create for YouTube. I have another hard drive that's for my design projects and so on. But again, as I mentioned earlier, it's best to keep your important files on a separate hard drive from your main hard drive that has your operating system and your applications installed on it. So save all your important files to a secondary hard drive. After you finish sorting your files, you'll want to back up your files because you've created all this nice folder structure and all this organization. Well, you don't want to lose that, do you? So go ahead and back that up and back it up more than once. Back it up on a thumb drive, back it up on a CD, back it up online, back it up on an external drive, back it up on an extra internal hard drive. Any or all of those are good options. And if you really care about data, you will back it up more than once. You'll have 2 copies or 3 copies because if you only back it up once, what if that backup gets destroyed or lost? You want to make sure that you have multiple backups of your backups. That way your data will be safe, in theory, for a much longer time, if not forever, as long as you keep creating new backups. A really quick and easy way to back up your files is to use something like this little flash drive here. This is a USB 3.0 flash drive, which means that it'll connect and transfer files very quickly as long as you have a USB 3.0 port on your computer. So I can simply just copy files to this really quickly. I don't have to worry about connecting a big giant bulky hard drive or anything like that. And this is kind of my temporary backup, just my quick backup, and then when I want to do a major backup, I'll do it to my external hard drive. I'll go ahead and put some links down in the video description to some products that I recommend for backing up your work. Now, there are products out there that can create automatic backups, and you might wonder, why not just let automatic backup do its thing? That's not necessarily the worst idea. That's better than not backing up at all. But I prefer to manually back up because you don't want to just scoop up everything on your computer and back it up, because there's probably a lot of things that you don't want to back up. So you want to be very specific about backing up only files that you want to keep. The reason why is because if you just back up everything and a lot of it's just junk that you don't want to keep, that's going to eat up the storage space on your device, which is going to mean you're going to have less space to store files that you actually do want to keep. So I prefer to do manual backups. I don't do any automatic backing up. I make sure that the files that I'm backing up are not overwriting any files that I want to keep, and I pay careful attention to each file and each folder to make sure that I'm doing it correctly. And that would be my advice to you, is don't do auto backups unless you absolutely have to. Make sure that you know exactly what you're backing up. The concern there is maybe you have multiple saves of the same file. Maybe you were working on a project for a client and you backed it up once, but then on your desktop computer you made a change to that file. Now all of a sudden you have basically the same file with the same name, but one is older and one is newer. If a few months go by and you kind of forget that you did that with a file, and you look at the two files and you go, okay, I have these two files, they both have the same name, they must be the same file, and you don't pay careful attention to whether or not one file is bigger or one file is smaller or one's more recent or one's older, you might end up overwriting a file that you wanted to keep. Maybe you need that older file, and if it's overwritten, it's gone for good. So again, when in doubt, make a copy of the file and keep the older version and the newer version together. So there you go, that's why it's important to organize your files. If you'd like some more detailed tips and techniques for organizing your files, check out my playlist on file organization. If you found this video helpful, take a quick second to like this video. And if you're new to my channel, I'd love to have you subscribe. I have a lot more digital art related videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.